Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Thank you all for joining us here. We are so excited to be here with Jessie and Shop Repurpose. Before we get started and I hand it off, I just would love to do a little bit of housekeeping. So if you're joining us for the first time or watching the recording for the first time, welcome to Remake. Remake is a nonprofit advocacy organization that unites changemakers in the fight for human rights and climate justice in the clothing industry. And we're really grateful to be here in community and for you guys joining us on your morning, your lunch break, your evening, wherever you're at in the world. Before we get started, I have closed captions activated on the Zoom, so I'm going to go ahead and drop the link in the chat if anybody would like to use them. If you are watching the recording, then we also have closed captions on the recording, so you won't have to enable them. As we get settled, please, if you're joining, drop in the chat where you're calling in from. And I also wanted to share some really exciting news that we are opening applications for our Changemaker Program 2.0 starting on June 1st. So for those of you who are new to Remake, or if you're an ambassador already, our Changemakers are the heart of really everything that we do here. And we have this huge global network of students, industry professionals, fashion lovers, designers, really everybody that you can think of. And if you're interested in joining our Changemaker program, you can learn more and find our application. I'll drop a link in the chat to our updated website, or just check back on our website on June 1st for the application. We're very, very excited to share it with everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that in the chat. Welcome, everybody, if you're just joining. Amazing. Okay, well, Jessie, I will hand it on over to you to do an introduction about yourself and Shop Repurpose.
Oh, great. Well, I'm so excited to be here today, and thank you for collaborating with us. So my name is Jessie Freschl. I'm the founder of Repurpose Wardrobe, otherwise known as Shop Repurpose on our social handles and our website. A little bit about me. I actually grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and was born into a bridal shop. My grandmother started a store in 1959. It was a small business, and it was primarily just bridal. And then my mother ran the business alongside her, and I was literally born taking naps in the fitting rooms and was kind of raised by the back of the house. Oftentimes I learned how to sew my doll's clothes and understood really the intricacies of fashion and what well-made clothes meant, and had an incredible network of mentors and teachers along the way. And then I went off to college and I studied English literature and went back to the store after completing my studies, and worked there during a summer and realized that I was really good at it because something I knew. So I ended up staying on, and I ran the business with my mom for 10 years. And I ended up launching a ready-to-wear department that still exists today, and ended up kind of driving about 50% of the revenue of the store. But it was all about quality and craftsmanship, and we had really unique designers in there. We would shop in New York City multiple seasons, and then in 2010, my husband had a job offer and we moved to New York City. So we left the Midwest from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we ended up moving out to New York City. And after about a year I had my second child here, and after about a year of staying at home, I decided I wanted to get back into the workforce, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And it ended up that an opportunity landed in styling. So I started a styling business, and my very first client was the wife of a very prominent family in New York City. I met her doing yoga. I'm a big mindfulness, wellness individual, spending over about 30 years of my time practicing Ashtanga yoga, or my lifetime, I should say. And I ended up, she was my very first client, and she was a prominent family, as I said, in New York City, which opened up a tremendous amount of doors to me. And I've never seen shopping quite like it is in New York City, in that type of a network and community. And after several years of doing that, I realized that there was an opportunity to take something with the donated with the clothing that was coming out of these closets, because these individuals were buying really great pieces of clothing, but they were also making room every season for new. So there was a ton of excess. And so I thought at the time I was sitting on a nonprofit that brought yoga and mindfulness into New York City schools. They were always looking for ways to fundraise. And I was like, what if we took donated luxury clothing and we sold it, and we gave job readiness opportunities to individuals that were trying to come into the industry? So from my background, as I mentioned, the seamstresses and the people in the front of the house were instrumental in actually building my knowledge on, and you can go to school and you can study, but if you don't have the right network and the right opportunity to actually learn the skills that you're taught in school, it's really hard to transfer into like going from an education to a first job. So we launched Repurpose. And so Repurpose has been around for about 5 years now, just a little over 5 years. And we give job readiness opportunities to individuals that are interested in getting into the fashion industry with the lens of sustainability. And our Renew program we launched last year is a holistic workforce development program. So it provides professional and personal development training for individuals interested in sustainability and related industries. So I guess our main goal is to equip participants with the skills and experiences needed for long-term success. And that's me. And that's a little bit about Repurpose.
That is so amazing. Could you share a little bit more about Renew, the workforce development program, and
Sure.
kind of how it started and how it's evolved?
Yeah, so initially as a nonprofit, we were a grant giving organization. So we would give grants to smaller organizations that worked with women and families. And we always had this workforce development program. And after about 2 years into our organization's growth, we realized that we had an opportunity to pivot. And if there's any entrepreneurs in the audience right now, you'll know that oftentimes when you build something, you're oftentimes changing and pivoting sort of towards how the actual community that you're serving is benefiting from it. So what we noticed after a couple of years in was the impact that we were having on the trainees that were coming in, that were working with us. And we were partnering with one of our first grantees was WIN. It was the largest provider of shelter in New York City. And we had one of their individuals that was receiving housing at this shelter come in and actually work as a part-time employee. And she grew and developed into one of our top sales associates. This was at a time when we had a retail store. And the students coming from FIT were really incredibly fulfilled with what they were learning, and they were getting placed into higher paid positions within their respective field. So we decided to shift our model to really double down on the trainees and the workforce development, and moved away from grant giving. And so the Renew program is 1 year coming up on its actual first birthday of the official rollout. And we have kind of an innovative learning model. So our participants engage in short e-modules, group mentorship sessions, and interactive workshops, as well as peer-to-peer collaboration. And that all helps kind of their learning experience. The specific pipelines that we have within the organization is marketing, operations, photography, copywriting, and upcycling design. We're also launching styling as well. And then we have kind of like the personal development that also is built in there. So we have courses on financial literacy, interview prep, as well as, like, we believe in our core values very much that wellness actually works. So we do a lot of wellness training, resume building, LinkedIn optimization, and then the participants actually gain skills by learning how to run our resale operation. So our operation, our website, our socials, it's all run through the trainees, and they're applying the training in real time in the time that they're with us. And obviously, if they choose not to go into resale or luxury resale or fashion, a lot of the skills that they're teaching that we're teaching them are actually transferable. So our partners have really expanded. We started with working with the Fashion Institute of Technology and Parsons, and we now have partnered with New York City Youth and Community Development Programs. We partnered with the community colleges, CUNY Cultural Corps, as well as several other adjacent that are part of the community colleges, as well as Prep for Pep, Futures and Options. And then we have interns coming from really all over, which are accredited, as I mentioned, FIT, but LIM, NYU. We've had students come in that are coming into doing summer programs with us. And we have 3 different cohorts annually. So we have the fall, winter, spring, and then summer. And our summer program is usually our largest, most robust, because there isn't school actually in session. And we have about 10 to 15 trainees per cohort. I guess we are really in a growth trajectory right now. So we are planning to scale this with larger workshops to expose students to larger opportunities. And then we're hoping by the end of the year, we can launch our team lead position. So trainees that have gone through our program can actually come on in a part-time capacity while still studying and have paid positions for the ability to kind of actually lead the next cohort, because that the students learn so much from one another, and it's a great skill set to have as you're launching into your own career.
100%. I feel like people learn so much better, like the hands-on learning that you guys are providing is huge for these students. And I'm excited to follow along and see all the things that they achieve after they leave your cohort. I do see some names on the call that I don't quite recognize. So I was wondering too, if we could maybe take a step back and talk about the issues that you saw in the fashion industry in general, and why this secondhand sustainability is so important, why there's such a space for repurpose to thrive right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as we all know, the terrifying tariffs that are happening right now, I mean, a lot of businesses and brands are really struggling to figure out how that's going to happen, like what's going to happen to them. I mean, there's so many variables, but I think, as we all know, and I know that I've been following your work, Remake's work, for so long, and your whole campaign on buy no new clothes, like people to be able, there's nothing more sustainable than buying something that's already been made, and there is so much excess in the world. So in terms of like fashion and trends, like I'm a stylist. I dress some of the top executives in the country, and I would have to say that I don't think it's about the newest, hottest thing. It's how you can take the clothing that you have and apply it to what makes you feel good in the moment. And oftentimes trends influence our behavior. But I really believe that there's quality over quantity. And I think that the secondhand industry is, continuing to grow. And I think, from all of the research that I've done, I'm building a tech platform right now. Consumers just don't wear most of the things that they have in their closet. I think it's something about like 20% of what's in somebody's closet is what's actually worn. That means 80% of the clothing is not continually worn in somebody's closet. And I think that that's a problem. And I would like to change that. And I'm sure a lot of people that are on this Zoom, don't believe that. But and you do, I'm hoping, wear most of the things that are in your closet. But the average consumer is also buying like 70 new pieces of clothing a year. And I think that's wrong. And I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity in not only the secondhand marketplace, but also in, I mean, I guess in the secondhand resale marketplace, but also in the secondhand in the aspect of like upcycling or taking things and altering them to make them work for you. So I think it's really important that we educate consumers on that, and we shift the narrative that more is better and that we need to buy. I was recently at the Time 100 Summit and was sitting next to a CEO of a major company, and I really pushed back on her, and she was saying, well, consumers will never not want new. And I was like, well, why not? Like, if you have the power to be able to change the way consumers think, like consumers don't need Black Friday, right? Like we could do maybe Blackout Friday, like buy nothing, right? Like we don't need it. The US is the worst. We have the worst consumption problem. I don't feel like I need to tell most of the audience this, but I do believe that I think that we have an engaged audience right now, and we have the opportunity through challenging times, a lot of innovation comes. And I do hope that we're at a point right now. I'm hearing from over and over from so many people that have been following my work that like now is the time. Like I'm finally in a moment where people are listening to what can we do with what we already have.
Absolutely. I feel like more and more, even at Remake with our Changemaker program and No New Clothes, it's like we're getting those questions so much more. Like I've never seen so many people talking about sustainability in fashion like they are right now, which is a really exciting time to be here. I know you were talking a little bit about your personal styling, and I know a lot of people here probably have questions on this. And if anybody has questions for Jessie, please drop them in the chat and we will revisit them towards the end of the call. But you emphasize using fashion as a force for good and helping individuals express their authentic selves. So I'd love to know how you balance, personal expression with professional expectations, especially in the corporate setting. I feel like that's something a lot of people have trouble with.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's a great question. I mean, I think that the way that we present ourselves and the image that we put forth is oftentimes the first thing that somebody sees of you is how you look, right? Like how you show up for an in-person meeting or a meeting on Zoom. That initial moment you only have like once, right? And so it depends, obviously personal and professional becomes a little bit skewed, especially in like the corporate world. But ultimately when I am working with a client, it's really understanding what the client's comfort is and how do you feel best. Like I might think that you are going to look amazing in this outfit, but as soon as I look at the client, if they're not feeling it, I'm not pushing it. Like, if that makes sense, like we have this innate understanding of what makes us look good. My goal is to show somebody what works on their body and then push them a little bit to go maybe out of their comfort zone, like, and trying new things, right? But I think tailoring is a huge component, especially when, this idea that clothing fits is like one size fits all. Like oftentimes if you're going to make an investment in something, you should make an investment in it to fit your body correctly. And if something doesn't fit at one point, but you still love it, but now it doesn't because you've gained weight or lost weight, you can usually adjust clothing to actually fit a lot of people don't know that. Like if you buy well-made clothing, usually there's seam allowance so that you can let it out a little bit, or you can take it in and not cut the seams so that if you do regain weight, I mean, I've had 3 children, so believe me, I've gone through this a lot where your body changes. I think learning to dress for your authentic self takes time. And I think it's really important to take time to just spend time in front of the mirror looking at yourself, which most women tend to shy away from. There's actually a mirror meditation that I've oftentimes have actually talked to my clients about, is to just literally stare at yourself in the mirror and all these negative thoughts will naturally come through. But if you just stay with it, you'll soften. There, you can look it up online. It's called mirror meditation. It's actually a really beautiful way to start coming into understanding who you are and why we have such negative narratives on our own self. Like we always are our own worst critic. It's there's no style in the world that's going to be able to make you like perfect, right? Perfect is boring.
Yeah. And I love how you tie, like mindfulness into fashion and creativity. I feel like that's not something you see a lot in today's world, especially when it's so easy to, go on Pinterest or go on Instagram or any website and really like just you could buy one outfit all at once. There's
Yeah.
really no creativity or like mindfulness or thinking about how you're going to feel in that outfit, which I feel like everybody on this call knows. Sticking with the styling for a minute, I know, even like a few years ago, minimalist wardrobes were all the rage, and you could see people online, getting rid of their entire closet and just buying like those specific closet staples. For those people who are trying to pare down their closet a little bit and, maybe wear like 50% to 60%, 70% of the items in their closet instead of that mere 20%, what would you recommend for them instead of just purging everything and buying a few new things? How can they build that minimalist wardrobe and, still be sustainable about it?
Yeah, I think that is really unique to the individual because, somebody who is a fitness instructor that is, or somebody that's in the corporate world, or a new mom, or somebody that's retired, like somebody that's in a 9 to 5 corporate job, you're going to have different wardrobes. So I think you have to first identify what are your needs. So when I onboard a new client, I have an intake form and they fill out, a lot about what their actual day-to-day life is and what they're wearing and how often are they changing. Like from the moment that you wake up in bed to like when you are at the end of your night, how many times, what are you wearing? Are you working out and then changing your outfit? Are you going to work and then you're coming home and you're putting on sweats to make dinner? Like what is it? Like I want to understand everything, because once you're educated with what your routines are, or somebody that has a big social calendar that is going to social events and they're out all the time, that first is like one of the most important things you can do to figure out what your closet actually needs. And then I think from a terms of like minimalist closet, you're going to go with neutrals and like colors that work for you and how they can play with one another. Where your climate is, what's the weather? If you're in LA, do you really need like, how many sweaters do you need versus if you're near New York City? So you really need to kind of educate yourself on what your lifestyle is. And then from there, you can, I think, create a more minimalistic type of wardrobe. I'm going to be very honest with you, in full transparency, as a stylist and the clients that I work with, none of them are really into minimalist outfits, but I do feel like with the platform that I'm building, most of them aren't, they're really cutting back on actually how much they're consuming and buying, because I'm showing them what they have in their closet that actually works.
Yeah, no, that's great insight. I feel like too, so much things now are very like black and white. And I like how you take kind of like a gray approach. Like it depends on the person. Like everybody is different. How they approach their closet is going to be different too. We did have a question in the chat that I wanted to touch on. Thank you, Carly. Going back to, repurpose and like clothing donations. And Carly asked, or she says, it seems like you have a very well-oiled machine for your clothing donation platform now. But out of curiosity, when you were getting started, what was your pitch to luxury consumers whose items you brought into your business? And what were they doing with their clothing prior to your partnership? And how did you talk about Repurpose adding value and sustainability?
So that's a great question. Thanks, Carly, for that. So when I was launching Repurpose, initially it was a consignment model. So it was really when this was like a proof of concept, it was at a time where like the Real was sort of getting into the play, and I had the benefit of being in New York City and having a network of actually moms, really. I have 3 daughters. They're all teenagers now, but at the time they were young, and a lot of the women were coming back into the workforce and they were in need of clothing. And my client base was top echelon closets, and so I had this kind of ecosystem already built in where I was getting the clothing, it was consigned, and then all of these consumers that were like these mom friends and this network that I had built were shopping. And so it was like very successful. They were making a lot of money. And it was a win-win for everybody. When I changed the model to donation based, that took some big conversations with people. Like, do you really need the return on this? If you have X amount of money, like, could we do this as a tax write-off? And then simultaneously, we were approved as a 501c3 with the premise that we were going to be doing these pop-up events and cultivating new community and new shoppers, new interest in donors. And we were approved March 27th of 2020. So this idea of doing these large pop-up events came crashing down, and we did not know what we were going to do. And in 2021, we were able to open up our boutique on Madison Avenue on 84th and Madison on the Upper East Side of New York City. And there was an incredible response from the community. People were coming out of COVID. They were excited to be out and about. They saw this incredible store that we had put together that had really great pieces of well-made clothing. And a lot of people were just got the mission, understood the what we were building and saw it firsthand. And they had value in what we were building, from the component of giving grants away at the time and the workforce development that we were doing. So we just naturally gained a lot of amazing donors, clothing donors. And now our focus is not so much actually getting more clothing donated to us, but it's actually building our community of supporters so that we can really grow the learning component of it, and utilizing the luxury donations as a vehicle to help train and educate our trainees, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure if that answered all of that. And as I guess the second part of the question, what were they doing with their clothing prior to the partnership? A lot of them were actually, because it was, again, right at the time of the RealReal, some of them were reselling on the RealReal, and then some of them were just like literally giving away their clothing to friends, and they were like frustrated that they were seeing their friends wearing their same clothing, or like their house, like if they were giving them to like housekeepers or like people within their community, there wasn't as much of a value for them to do that. So yeah.
Thank you for
Thanks,
your
Carly.
question, Carly.
Yeah, I mean, ask me more. I'm curious to hear everybody else's that is on the call, like what resonates with you, or how I can answer other questions.
Yeah, so I know we do have quite a few people in our community who, are aspiring to have their own real resale shops or vintage stores, or, they're even stylists. So I'd love to know too, like, reflecting on your career, what do you wish you known? Like, I feel like you've gone through so many different transitions and you've done so many things. What do you wish you would have known when you first started out that can help shape, other people who want to do something similar to what you're doing?
I think that for me, looking at numbers and data is something that I didn't do early on. And I think it's really important when you're building a model and building a business. Obviously, there's a lot of intuition and gut that goes into it. Like, I get this. I see why this would be successful. I have a really great and it's really important to have those intuitions as an entrepreneur and to trust your gut and to move forward. But I think it's not that I didn't look at it, but I think I was intimidated by numbers and data and like how to let it like kind of also help guide you. And I think it's so essential early on as you're building to look at what's working and what's not. And to start small. Like I don't think to go out big, and I think marketing is something that always scared me from my styling business, which is very successful. I built my styling business on my network and on my connections and on my authenticity and my work. Obviously, my work came through and people were happy with what I was doing, so they referred me, but it was so much referral. And as I built Repurpose and we built this, having a really strong team behind you is essential in growing a business. I have a board of directors, actually all female. So interestingly enough, I'm speaking this Friday at a Women in Negotiation, and the panel is like dealing with like opposites and how I'm negotiating. I'm sitting on this panel and I was like reflecting, and I was like, all of the people that I've ever worked with have been women. Which is pretty amazing and not very common for other women, I realize. But you know, it's been very helpful to be able to lean in on the team and other people's expertise, and to not be scared that you can't learn something new as you're building something. So I've always shied away from like spreadsheets and data, and now I'm really kind of geeking out on it and loving it. And I wish I would have learned that earlier in my career. I think it would have only been beneficial. So I think go after and tackle the things you're most scared of early on in your career and try to understand them better. I don't know if that's helpful.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer, and something that I don't hear very often when people get asked that question, but it is like a very real thing. Like data is everything, especially from the jump. You know, you can see your growth, you can see so much from it.
Yeah.
So I would love to open it up for questions in just a minute, but I'd love to ask you too, for people who are listening on the call now or listening to the recording on our YouTube channel later, what are some ways people can get involved with your mission and your work, whether in New York or abroad?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this year we actually launched our Giving Collective, which is a collective of community supporters that are working with Repurpose and believe in our mission and have committed a certain, there's like 3 different entry points financially to join. Obviously, you could just make a much smaller donation, but the Giving Collective is really links you with community of individuals that believe in our mission in terms of workforce development, and they have access to different workshops. They also have access to being mentors um, to our trainees, and obviously simple ways to join. Shop with us. We have most of our items online, but not like now this is our busy season. Like we just got in a ton of new products. We have lots of sales. Talk about us with your network. Connect with us. We I don't know what else, Alexi. My associate director is sitting across from me, and I'm trying to think of other ways to get involved. But I do think that spreading the word about what we're doing, following us on social, all of those are super important. Obviously, we're definitely looking to grow in our supporters and our financials so that we can actually develop more for larger students. And I saw the question from Aaron that we are looking to expand our business. We're not sure yet if we're able to really expand across the United States, because we really want to see more growth in New York City. And that means like more cohorts coming in, more students really being able to be touched. But eventually, yes, we would like to be able to be in other urban communities with the same type of infrastructure where students are coming out of college, and college, you know, we didn't really touch on this. I mean, for me, I think college is like, it's great. Like, I think it's not necessarily for everybody. I have a junior in high school right now that's going into the college process and the universities. in the United States is quite interesting right now to be kind of navigating through. But I think it's really important to be able to learn these relational intelligence and executive functioning skills that universities oftentimes don't teach students. So we would like to expand, but we have to expand in a meaningful way that makes sense with the right support around us. And New York City right now, we still have a lot of opportunity to grow through. Sounds like the work that you do is similar to Dress for Success. The question from Aaron also sounds like the work that we do is similar to the work for Dress for Success. They help unemployed and underemployed women by offering them programming and styling sessions. So I actually met very early on with the founder of a Bottomless Closet, which is very similar to Dress for Success. And the difference between us is Dress for Success actually takes in donated clothing and then they actually offer that clothing to individuals. And a lot of the unemployed women that are seeking services from Dress for Success, as I understand, are trying to get into the industry, but not into the fashion related or creative industries. It's prepping them a lot for the interviews. So yes, very similar. There are similarities in what we do, but our cohorts are with us for a longer extended period of time. They're with us for 16 weeks. They're really coming in from either high school or college. So they're 16 to 24, where Bottomless Closet is a much broader spectrum, and they're usually women that are really looking to get a much vast. I don't know much about. I don't know. I don't want to speak for Dress for Success, but there is differences because we're focusing on utilizing well-made clothing to actually help train our students and our trainees in what luxury fashion really is.
One question too that's in the chat, just going back to talking about fashion school. Helen asked, like, any tips for someone, she said, me, I'm in my 40s, looking to change careers from tech into sustainable fashion without going to fashion school.
Helen, we should talk because I'm building a tech platform. And it's all around sustainable fashion. I think, again, I think I didn't go to fashion school at all. Like, I'm also in my 40s and I never went to, like, I'm building something new. I think it's about your network. I think it's about saying what you want to do, just like you did, and like having conversations with people and networking. And we should definitely talk offline after the Zoom, because I think it's so important to put yourself out there and be vulnerable and say what you don't know. Like, I think there's a lot of power in that. And this sounds so like woo-woo, whatever, but the universe is really, really looking out for individuals if you're able to listen to it. Like, I never in my wildest dreams would have thought that I would have been invited to the Time 100 summit, which is like most innovators like in their industries. And I'm just like doing my work, right? I'm just like plugging along, doing what I know. And somebody noticed that what I was doing was cool. In the Time 100 was a lot about sustainability and what we're doing innovatively for communities. And like that day, this is like so funny. Every single person I met benefited one of my businesses. And I was like, how did that just happen? Like they didn't they didn't choose my spot of where I was sitting or who I was standing in line with, but it was like everything happened, I feel like, for a reason. And I know that sounds so ridiculous, but I really believe it's true. Like if you listen for like the signs and the opportunities, they're there. It's just if oftentimes we are so distracted by all the other noise in the world. Another thing that I have to say too, with the chaos of what's happening across the globe, I think that was not the focus of the Time 100 Summit. The Time 100 Summit really was about leadership and reframing opportunity in times of distress, and that through a lot of chaos and craziness, lots of exciting things happen. Like a fire burns and it churns to make room for new growth. I believe in humanity. I believe that there's a lot more good in the world than there is evil. And I think a lot of the noise gets us very scared and distracted. So I believe that like if we stay on course, like we will make a difference. I have to believe that.
Yeah, I love that. That's so inspirational. And I saw Helen put, I need to listen better to what the universe is telling me. Don't we all, Helen? Don't we all? If anybody else has questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. But Jessie, I'd love to hear more about your tech platform too, if you want to share about that.
Yeah. So that has been a whirlwind of growth, but what I'm building right now is kind of like if you would take like Slack or like a workforce platform where groups come together, and I'm working with the gig economy curators, focusing first to launch it with stylists, with personal stylists. So stylist brands and clients have one space where they can connect on a community platform powered by AI. So almost like if you would think of it as like a personal assistant for a curator, for a stylist, to be able to deal with all of the transactions that happen from the back end, from the business component side, from brands and secondary marketplaces to clients. So an add-on feature of the app will be able to do like closet digitization and integration, which this is where I think a lot of you would get very excited about. So the app actually will serve, and the platform will serve for B2B, but also as like a kind of a software as a service. So you can digitize your closet and then you can create outfits with those items. You can look at like an ROI on it. There'll be an integration from brands like a Vestiaire Collective or another secondary marketplace like Shop Repurpose, where you could donate your clothing or resell your clothing on. So you're looking at your clothing as more of like an investment. And then there'll also be kind of more conscientious consumption, because if you see everything you have in your closet, oftentimes you're like, oh, wait, I don't need that XYZ, right? I already have it. I just need to rethink about how I'm going to wear it. So the idea is to wear more. Most consumers, as we mentioned, only wear 20% of what's in their closet. Most stylists spend about 30 to 40% of their time on non-paid administrative tasks, and brands are always looking to figure out what the data is that is selling the best and working the best for clients. So this ecosystem allows like all of the data that is in your closets to be able to be really driving how we consume and how we communicate together. So I'm really excited. I think it's very transferable into like interior design space, into wine curation, into art collecting, into travel. So it can kind of spread out. The gig economy is growing like at an exponential rate since COVID. More and more people are choosing to go out and do their own thing. So this is a platform to help creators kind of have everything concise. So it's going to be a lot of integration. And yeah, we have a really great team helping me build this. And I'm excited about it.
I need this app. Do you guys have a launch date at all?
We're hoping to launch in September, October into like a beta mode. I'm happy to let anybody know. You guys can go to myturnstyle.com and sign up for the beta. And then but we have to do some fundraising to get there. And then hopefully once we're in beta for like 4 to 5 months, we'll get the data and see how things are being used. We have some really exciting partners already lined up. And we're moving forward, but it has really pivoted from a lot of investor feedback. One of the biggest pain points with a lot of these closet digitization apps is the actual uploading of digitizing the closet and the wardrobe. But with AI, also so much has changed within even just the last couple of years, or even the last couple of months, I should say, in terms of what opportunities there are there.
Incredible. I'm gonna have to go sign up and keep an eye out for when that's launching because it sounds amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited. It's it's a lot to be taking on right now, but I guess I like a lot.
Yeah, no, it sounds like, and I'm like, Jessie has more hours in the day than everybody. You're everywhere, but everything you're doing is absolutely incredible.
Allison.
We do have a few more minutes left. If anybody else has any questions, and you don't want to type in the chat, please feel free to come off mute as well. We'll also have the recording available, Jessie and Alexia. I will send it to you. We'll have it in the Ambassador Slack on our YouTube channel, and we're also going to be sending out a recap email, so you'll have it in your inbox as well with the links to that we shared in the chat, Shop Repurposes website, how you can connect with Jessie and learn out more about her.
Yeah, and if anybody want, I mean, and honestly, follow us and DM us on Instagram. We're happy to do like virtual appointments within our showroom. Like I said, we're always getting things in. If you do live in New York City and want to come in, we're on 36th and 9th. We are winding down our spring cohort now, and we have a new one launching. Our summer trainees are coming in June 3rd. So for the next couple of weeks, we're a little bit quieter here. We're happy to have people come in for the showroom appointment and make it really special. And yeah, we're just really excited, and we're so excited, Allison, to be partnering with Remake. I think there's a lot of very exciting opportunities.
Yeah, if you're in New York, keep your eyes out for the summer and the fall. We're hoping to have some in-person events. And then, hi, Mary. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, is it too late to make a comment?
Oh, go ahead.
So a couple of things. I'm an upcycler. I'm rebranding or refreshing my brand all the time because I sell upcycled clothing, and it's kind of challenging. But it is, I mean, my time has come. And
Amazing. It has.
yeah. Um, so I'm gonna have a big launch in the fall. But I did apply to something in New York called Art Make. It
What
was
is it
this,
called?
and anyway, they accepted me, but I live in California. Um, so I just wanted to say kudos to you. Like, this is just fabulous. And I made that comment about styling because I find, I clean, I organize closets to kind of begin with, or that's like a little sideline. And I just have to teach or show people that they bought these clothes once, and they can kind of restyle them
Mm-hmm.
and make simple changes with scissors alone, if they have to. And I know people always say, would I cut up a Chanel suit? The answer, drum roll, yes, I would. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you. And
Thanks, Mary. Yeah, we have one of our new board members is Lily Clemson. She has an incredible brand called Lily Eve. I think it's called shoplilyeve.com online, but she takes Hermes blankets and towels and silk scarves and then remakes them into really amazing, beautifully made clothing, and is doing an incredible business. She's partnered with Taylor, a couturier who used to work at Bergdorf Goodman here in New York City. He's like 80 some years old, and she's in her 20s, and it's this really cute dynamic. And
oh,
they're doing great. I mean, so there is so much to be saying about upcycling. We had a really large donation come in this past spring of men's shirts, and it was like they're these beautiful men's like shirts, and they're really large in size, and we are like, well, what are we going to do with them? They also are monogrammed, and we're actually going to be recutting them and creating new patterns this season and redoing them, because like the shirt, like the cool updated shirt with so many different trends right now is like very on point, and I feel like we have so much great stuff. So we're not going to just like donate them and see what happens. Like they're actually giving them to us to be able to create new. So I love upcycling. I think it's incredible. it's an incredible way to make new out of something that's old or to change something that you're tired of.
Just real quick to plug my business at Salad Bowl
Yeah.
Dress.
What is
And
it? Can you
I'll
put it in the chat?
And so I'm rebranding. It's going to be a lot easier to navigate my site.
Amazing.
But I also was part of the problem, and now I'm part of the solution. I worked in New York for, I even worked at Betsy Johnson. I
Yeah.
always like to
What did you
but
do there, Mary?
with her. I was an assistant pattern maker, and so I'm a tailor pattern maker by profession.
Amazing.
And then, I'm from LA, so I moved back, and I use a lot of patterns, and you've probably heard of Sway in LA. And they have or maybe you haven't, I don't know. They have a little sweatshop that will work with me. So I'm gonna try to, so I don't feel really successful, but I'm developing courses and it's just because, I'm a mom, an older mom of 3. And it hasn't really evolved into a really bustling business. But I'm still really enthused with it all.
Don't be dissuaded. I oftentimes don't feel successful either. I mean, I feel like it's, I feel like a lot of it is, it's hard. Like it's very, very hard. And doing something new and taking risk is scary. And there's a lot of times where like things can be very intimidating. And it's not always like, just because I'm talking about all my successes doesn't mean there haven't been plenty of times where I feel like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like nothing is working. Like, that's like, I think just keep going and try. What you're building is great. I'm really excited to check out what you have done. And you have a lot of history. I mean, that you worked at Beth, like that should come to your advantage. That should come to advantage,
Yeah.
right?
My
Like,
iconic designer
yeah.
association's background. The other point I want to make is I've never bought any clothing. They're all donations. We all have so many clothes to donate. And, one of my little taglines is you give me your old clothes and I sell them back to you. And then I do a lot with, just you'll see on my, if you read any of my blogs, you'll see like all the stuff that I
Cool.
make.
I'm going to follow you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Mary. I'm looking at your website now. It looks amazing. Please keep us updated too on your launch. Make sure to drop it.
Yeah, it's going to be
community.
way more easy to navigate. That's all I have to say. It's been fun to pile all that in. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
amazing.
you so much for sharing and coming off mute. I feel like I see your name so often, so it's wonderful to put a face to the name too.
I know, I love Remake. Oh my gosh.
Thank you all so much for joining today. Thank you so much to Jessie and to Repurpose and Alexi for joining us. And like I said, if you're in New York or planning on being in New York over the summer and the fall, keep an eye out for some in-person events that we're planning on having as a little collaboration between Repurpose and Remake.
Yeah, we're very excited.
Yeah. Well, I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Like I said, we will send the recording and we hope to see you all soon.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Bye, Allison.
Bye.